So that link will be dropped on our Twitter and other social media, including Facebook. So, it has been a minute since Chasing After Dark has aired. Um, and a lot of things have changed with Indiana Storm Chasers as a whole. And we're
That's an
really,
understatement.
yeah, understatement of the year. So one of the big things is, and you guys have known this for a really long time, is that we have a commitment to our community. Our vision is all about respect, research, and reliability. When the next thing that we stand for is education, knowledge, and driving for results. And we're here to protect, enrich, and educate. So we were built with that mission statement in mind. So to protect, preserve, and enrich the lives of citizens and visitors all over the Hoosier State by committing to a higher standard of excellence in weather forecasting and real-time field reporting, while making sure that our community. Uh, thanks for following. But while making sure that we're providing our communities top-notch education on topics such as identifying hazards and severe weather preparedness, that has always been our MO. And since our inception in 2019, we have offered the public the strongest and most comprehensive and up-to-date weather forecasts and severe weather notifications in the Great Lakes and the Ohio River Valley regions. I think we can all agree on that. We've grown very, very quickly. We've become extremely trusted. So
65,000 followers in a matter of 3 years is insane.
it is insane. And over the summer, we'll be very transparent and say that over the summer there was a bit of a hiccup, and um, unfortunately, an individual that was with Indiana Storm Chasers had a different idea in mind, and it became kind of like a little hype train, which is not what we're here for. Um, but we're happy to say that Indiana Storm Chasers is now back in the hands of a competent board. It's the original board, so myself, Ryan Harriet, and Caleb Ivans are back on board, and we've been really blessed to bring a fourth board member on, and that is Ethan Hughes, who is our chief meteorologist, who is here this evening. Um, Ethan, I would really be honored if you went ahead and introduced yourself to our listeners and to the public of Indiana at large.
All right. So, yeah, I'm Ethan Hughes. I graduated from Ball State, I believe it was 2021. So I'm fresh out of college. I'm a fresh person, but I've been very interested in weather throughout Indiana or even just the entire Midwest for, since pretty much since I was born. Growing up in Decatur, Illinois, if you know anything about Decatur, if there's a cloud that passes over, it's more than likely going to drop a tornado. Um, so, so I was pretty much just born into this. I can't name a day that I didn't, just look at clouds or look at the sky or, be fascinated by thunder and lightning. I was never, scared of thunderstorms coming at night. I always stared out the window, wanted to go out and, get hit in the face with some hail or something like that. So I was always considered one of the weird kids, but, I'm all right with that.
We're all right with that.
And yeah, I mean it's great fun, I'll tell you that. But I just really developed a passion for this, and I knew I was gonna go to school for this. But I had a little um incident after high school where I didn't actually major in this, and then I went back to working and then figured out what I wanted to do, and then went back to college. And I went to Ball State. So it was between Ball State or Michigan University, and I didn't really want to pay that out of state baloney. So I just went with Ball State because honestly, it's the best one in the state. If you're going for meteorology, it's 100% the best one. And they have a great summer chasing trip that I went on in 2019. We went through Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, all those states over there, and saw some pretty cool stuff. I think we went for about 2 weeks. So it
Lucky.
was a really great trip, and that really kind of sealed the deal on what I really wanted to do with this. And you know, and in the past, I've been doing a lot of, just um, unofficial forecasting, I would call it. My dad we'd be yapping on about how much snow we're gonna get this season because we do like the snowmobile up in the UP and the forests of Michigan. I forget the name of it right now, but it's not relevant. Um, but we just loved, talking about winter weather and, just all that kind of stuff, cold fronts. And, it's really developed my sense of explaining this kind of stuff because I've had to explain it to, my father and my mother and, my now wife. And, it's really kind of honed in on my uh, explanation skills, I would say. I can speak the language of the normal people.
No, and we have definitely
That's actually
noticed.
really.
Go on, Ryan.
Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead, Tia.
no, your turn.
I was going to say, being able to speak the language of the people, the general public, that's actually really important in communicating. Because when you take those meteorological terms and you throw out terms like CAPE or you throw out terms
Yeah.
like 500 millibar,
Yeah.
people aren't going to know what those mean. So being able to speak to the public in a very communicative way is very important
Yes,
when it
very
comes to
much.
being a forecaster and a meteorologist.
Hmm.
No, and that's extremely true. And I feel like, in general, if you look at a lot of these other weather pages and even some of the weather social media sites, they kind of lose touch with being able to communicate with people. They lose themselves in. I don't know if it's necessarily a need to feel official, but they fail to recognize that, like you said, there are individuals out there. Most people who are not in the weather community are not going to understand things like SRH and CAPE. So,
Hmm.
Right.
and it becomes up to us to make sure that we explain it in a way that they understand, um, and kind of relay the thread across without, I don't know, kind of,
Hmm.
you know, numbing them with over official forecaster speak. And you've done a really, really great job with that. And I have to say that,
Yeah.
the forecasting work that I've seen you do is rather impressive. And that's why we're really, really happy to have
Thank
you
you.
here with Indiana Storm Chasers. And
Absolutely. I'm glad to be here. This was a great opportunity when I got I guess, the invite to come in, and I was so excited to do this because, it's something I'd wanted to start um, on my own for a long time, but never got really any traction. But this is just an amazing opportunity for me, and I'm ever grateful for being a part of this team and and furthering what we're going to be doing here in the next couple of months and what we've done the past couple of months.
yeah,
I've read that list that you sent out. I'm like, wow, that's amazing how much things are moving forward.
no, and they really are moving forward. There's a lot of things that we are doing here at Indiana Storm Chasers, um, that it's kind of mind blowing in a way, just the stuff that is starting to materialize, and just how, I guess, industrious we really are. When we say that we want to be the best for our community, we're not kidding. Um, so there's a lot of big changes that are happening, and we are very much back on track. We have not only Ethan, but we have another meteorologist on board as well. We have a series of forecasters that um, all fall under Ethan being our chief meteorologist. Um, so if you need it forecasted, it's able to be done. Long term, short
Mhm.
term, ag, you name it, we have that. It's kind of like all built into one. We've made sure that we've checked every box in that regard. Um, so one of the big things that's happened with Indiana Storm Chasers over the summer, um, is that we've expanded. And you probably picked up on it when Ryan introduced himself about Michigan Storm Chasers. So, Ryan, would you
Yes,
do go take that away?
indeed. Indeed. Now, we tried to start Michigan Storm Chasers, a chapter, and we were somewhat successful with it back in, I believe it was 2020.
Yes.
But there were some issues with the leadership of who we put in charge with Michigan Storm Chasers. And also on my part, too, we had, or personally, I had a lot of, let's say, personal things happen that took a lot of time away from, with ISC and also with.
I think we lost Ryan. Hang tight, guys. We're working on getting everything back here. Hey, Ryan, can you hear us? Okay.
I would take that as a no.
I'm going to take that as a no for now. And what we'll do is we will circle back around there once he gets his stuff back together. I'm going to send him a quick message and just let him
Oh,
know.
and who was that?
So, you broke up really, really bad right after you had to take some personal time.
Oh, my bad.
It's all good. So,
Can you guys hear me?
now we can. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I was just saying that took some personal time away, just with situations, life situations that took my time away from Michigan or from expanding out of Indiana into Michigan. But now that those situations have kind of settled themselves, we are moving full steam ahead with Michigan Storm Chasers, and we'll be hitting the ground running. We're already building a team, and we'll be full steam ahead, fully operational for 2023. So we are excited, and it's going to do the exact same thing we're doing here in Indiana. We're going to be doing forecasting, live chasing, and we're going to try and focus a lot more on the disaster relief side of things with Michigan Storm Chasers. And also, Indiana Storm Chasers is also moving towards that as well. But we're going to focus really heavily on community impact and outreach within Michigan. So we're excited. We already have a few staff members on board. We're looking at recruiting. So if you live in Michigan or you know people from Michigan who storm chase, send them our way. We already have a Facebook page up. It's at MI Storm Chasers. You can search us. Michigan Storm Chasers will pop up. Same logo as ISC, just with the Michigan background. So yeah, we're excited for that.
And it's going to
Sounds
be
exciting.
yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome. I mean, we've definitely done our fair share of chasing weather from Indiana up into Michigan, and it just seemed very organic for us to make that switch, and it's not even really a switch, but just to kind of spread our feelers out. Um,
And
so
also, I might as well just go ahead and announce it, but I also live in Michigan. I'm pretty close to Indiana, but I do reside in Michigan. So
yep,
I call it home. It's been my home all my life. This is where I live. This is where I call home. So it's kind of a personal thing for me. So that's awesome that we can expand and yeah,
yeah, no, I'm excited for it. I think the public should be very excited for it because we're going to bring that same um, level of intensity that we do with Indiana Storm Chasers. We'll be bringing it to Michigan. And again,
absolutely.
while each team may dabble together, we will cooperate and we will collaborate. Michigan will have its own set of caretakers, so to speak. Everybody there is going to be very, very like almost hyper focused on Michigan. That's not to say that on you know days where we know that there's going to be or there's the potential for a very large event, whether it be winter weather or severe weather, that we won't all kind of like put our eyes on Michigan or vice versa back down in Indiana. But that will be a completely different team. It will be completely led by Ryan, and there's a lot of opportunities for people who want to be brought in as forecasters, meteorologists, chasers, um, even educators. We're always looking for people who know their way around a classroom and have a good solid background in atmospheric science. Um, Speaking of Michigan, though, Ryan, did you hear that your lovely northern state has already seen snow?
Yes, I saw the Twitter post from NWS Marquette, And
Yeah.
personally, I'm very, very sad and depressed about this. Winter, I mean, I like snow, but I hate the cold. I cannot
Mm,
do winter. I want to, this is the only thing I hate about Michigan now. If it's gonna snow, give me a foot or two with a blizzard. Don't give me, an inch here,
mm-hmm.
3 inches, 3 to 6. Give me the whole shebang, and then call it good.
I
And
agree.
also shrink winter from 4 months down to 1 month. Like seriously, just
I don't know about all
man,
that.
that's spring and fall are my favorites. Winter comes around, it's just no.
Oh.
And that kind of hurts a little bit. I love winter. Winter is my
Right?
favorite.
Fall and winter are my
Well, okay,
favorites.
let me ask you. Let me ask you. I know Tia, you love winter too. Why do you guys like winter so much? Why do you guys like the cold, the dry skin, the bundling 15,000 layers? Like what makes winter besides Christmas and maybe Thanksgiving too? But what about it that you guys like? Like what is it about winter that you guys just fascinate over it?
It's beautiful. There's something intrinsically just awe-inspiring about freshly fallen snow. There's
Yes.
something magical about the sound snow makes, or rather the absence of sound as
Yeah.
snow is falling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's it's glorious. It's just kind of a reminder that I mean, even though we of course scientifically we know why winter is and why snow is, but it's kind of a reminder that there is a bit of whimsy and magic left in the world, and it kind of represents everything that is just very innocent and pure and wonderful. That's why I love winter. I'm addicted to it, really. Do I
Mm-hmm.
love do I love shoveling and having to go, take care of a farm in snow? Absolutely not. The snow was up to my thighs last snowstorm. But of course I'm also really short. But, and then I do not love summer heat at all. I would rather have to bundle
Agreed.
up, right? Like okay, listen, I can put on
Mm-hmm.
endless layers, right? But I can only strip
Yep.
so much. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yep.
you know? So,
Agreed.
And I can agree with the hot temperatures. I don't do hot very well either, but it's
no.
almost equal with cold for me.
Well, yeah, like I really definitely don't appreciate the cold, and I definitely, it's not my favorite
But
thing in the world.
I could also say that fall for me is exactly what you just described with winter. I mean, there's something magical about the trees
Oh,
changing color.
yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
there's also this is smell of burning leaves and pumpkin pie
Yes.
and
Yep.
the sound like it's fall for me does it. I mean, and also with
Yep.
spring with the flowers blooming and there's a distinct smell with spring and also fall too. But
So can we just
I
get
guess
rid of
we can all
summer?
have different. I mean,
Yep.
I
Ban
can get
summer.
with that.
Ban
I can get with
summer.
that, but then you take away the storm season. So
Yeah.
what about all the
True.
tornadoes?
Yeah,
But
true.
but fall does, and also spring especially, but fall, we can also talk about how there's been severe weather outbreaks in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Most notably, November 17th, 2013.
Yep.
yep.
I remember that day.
I think we all
That
remember
was
that
a
day.
that was a big day for
It
Indiana. Now,
was.
granted, I was only 15 years old, but I remember that day. It was a Sunday, and
Mm-hmm.
I walked in. Now, granted, I live in Michigan, so listen, I live. I mean, I think I was on the northeast part of the. I think it was like a enhanced risk, or no, it was a moderate risk, wasn't it? They didn't have enhanced back then.
I think the day of I looked at this a little bit ago. They
It was a high
had it all the
risk.
way up to a high risk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if my county in Michigan was under the high risk. I think I was at the edge of the high on the moderate line, I believe. But I remember walking in to church on Sunday morning, and my uncle was the first to mention something about the weather. They're calling for violent tornadoes that day, and that line that my uncle said, that violent word, that stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, this is when I was first getting my bearings on storms because I really got going after I was 16 years old with storm chasing. I always had that interest since I was like 12, 13 years old, but that word violent just
Mm.
stuck with me. So
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, what was it like? It was a good number of tornadoes that were confirmed. I want to say there was something like what was it, like 29, 30, something like that.
136
Woo, in
reports.
Indiana or 136 reports
Um,
or
so overall, I don't. Indiana is pretty close to that. Very, that area north of Lafayette, Kokomo area got quite a few.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I swear,
So
it's like Kokomo is.
yeah,
If you want to go to tornado, if you want to see tornadoes in Indiana, just go to the Starbucks in Kokomo. Is that just,
well, and I remember I was at my grandmother's house because we didn't have a basement at my old house, so we were over there, and I was watching one cell to my, let's see, what would have been my south, and then another cell to my my north. And I was just sitting there looking. I'm like, that's interesting. That's not looking very good. So we went down to the basement real quick. And after everything had passed through, we went out and just kind of roamed around just to see what happened. And a local town is Rileysburg, Indiana, middle of nowhere. Um, a local town. There was a church there, and it's very a tiny little tiny town. So a little church, and then the main street, and then there's a railroad crossing that kind of slanted along that road. And apparently the tornado had dropped right behind that church, and literally the walls fell in on each other with the roof right on top of it. It was
oof,
the weirdest looking thing I've ever seen. It just imploded. Like all the walls were perfectly intact, just falling down. And then the roof sitting right on top. And it had crossed the road, and there was a train actually going through that on those rails. And one train car, just one, was blown off the rails. So I
dear
think
Lord.
I read about it, and they actually classified it as an EF2. But it didn't last for very long. But since it blew a train car off the rails, they had classified it as an EF2.
Dear God.
Yeah, and
So,
it
yeah.
was wild.
I just pulled up the SPC report for that date. So, yeah, there were 136 tornado reports across the Midwest. There was 579 reports across most of the Midwest up for high wind. And then 42 reports of hail. We're talking 2 inches in diameter or bigger. So,
Also, just want to point out that there are 19 of those 579 wind reports. 19 of those were significant, meaning I believe 70 or 80 mile per hour or over. I
correct.
think it's 65 knots, so 70 mile per hour or higher wind gusts. So that's actually a pretty good number.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Most
our.
of those were across Indiana.
Yes, yes, especially northern Indiana. That is unreal. And, hate to say it, but we are so due when it comes to, um,
Yeah.
these this fall mini season, as I like to call it. We very much
Mm-hmm.
are. It's it's coming. So we will be
Now,
talking, huh?
Ethan, I just want to point this out as well. Ethan may know a little bit more about this, but we're heading into what could be and what looks to be our third straight year of what we call La Nina.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, historically speaking, um, when we have back to back La Ninas, especially back to back La Ninas, there is a period in mid-November and also mid-December where we could see a warm up. Now, when those happen, usually there's a low pressure system that lifts a warm front across our area.
Mm-hmm.
If that can happen, um, historically speaking, sometime November, December, just looking at historical data alone. Now, it's not good. This isn't a forecast or anything, but just looking at historical data, it is probable that we could have a few fall severe weather events this fall,
Mm-hmm.
especially into mid-November and early December. I thought that was kind of interesting to point out, just because we're in our second La Nina, and it's strengthening currently. It looks to phase out into we're getting kind of technical with our talk, but looks to phase out into next spring, maybe into even the summer. But that just kind of interested me, and kind of made me scratch my head, like, huh, where we could squeeze in another severe weather event or two before the end of the year.
Yeah, it is. It is very possible, and I've been talking about this for with my father and just with other weather enthusiasts for a couple months now. Because I had said there's very little hurricane activity this year until we had Ian.
That's true.
But before that, there wasn't hardly
Hmm.
anything. And I am, if there's anything that anyone can remember, I am the king of law of averages. Everything has to balance out. So, if Indiana has an average of, however many tornadoes per decade, this past decade, we haven't really seen that much. So obviously, naturally, it is going to have to balance out, and the average the next decade will be a little bit higher, because,
Right.
that natural balance of things. It's the same thing for the hurricanes. I saw this when Ian started to develop, it was super hot up here, and I'm like, Ian's going to come in and hypothetically or literally flush the toilet and bring in that cold air from our area, and everybody was like, no, it won't, it'll just pass through and we won't even know it. And sure enough, it cooled down, and we're actually getting probably the longest stretch of actual fall weather that I've seen through this state in a long time, because usually we have that, they say the false fall and then third summer and then
Right.
the week of actual fall and then dead cold winter.
Hmm.
Right.
And we're actually seeing some actual fall weather. And if I remember correctly, that 2013, 2012 year, we had a pretty significant line of fall weather. And then November hit. Then we had that tornado outbreak. And then literally a week later, we had snow on the ground.
Right.
So it was that
Also,
instant like flip.
right. Do we know if 2013 was La Nina, El Nino, or neutral?
I believe it was La Nina, if I
I,
remember
I
correctly.
I think you're right because I do know that 2011 that was the second
Yes.
La Nina year, which is why they hiked
Yes.
this last spring up because we thought it was going to be really active because we're comparing double or back-to-back La Ninas.
Yeah.
Um, 2011 to now. Of course, this spring was technically we can call it a bust in comparison to the expectations.
Yeah.
Very much
Um,
so.
but interesting. But also, for those listening who don't know what La Nina or El Nino or the neutral phase is, do you want to go ahead and give them a little brief explanation about that?
Yeah. So, to the best of my knowledge, to explain this is, so it's kind of just a pattern of the jet stream. So, just dependent on how the upper level atmosphere is flowing, if it's going to naturally, it's going to usually flow um, kind of from the northern territories of Canada, and then it's going to dip down into the northern United States, kind of curve up through Indiana and then go up the East Coast. That's the usual pattern. Um, but that La Nina kind of pulls that, we call it a trough. So when that dips down into the Midwest, the La Nina kind of pulls that a little further south. So we get a lot more of that polar air. So a lot more cold, but it also has the potential, since it's dipping down so far south, to pull some moisture from the Gulf as well. So there's a lot more probability of low pressure systems that are going to develop high amounts of snowfall and things of that sort.
Gotcha.
Which brings up
All right.
the fact that in 1970 was six. Was that big blizzard or was it? I believe it was seven.
78.
74.
78.
74. Oh, I'm thinking of tornado outbreak of 74.
You're
Yeah, you're
thinking
right.
tornado
78
outbreak?
heavy
The
blizzard.
No,
blizzard of the
seven.
blizzard of 78. Yep.
Yep. So we are
My dad
definitely,
always talked about it.
yeah. So
We're
we're
due.
we're due.
We are definitely due.
It is
Yeah.
coming, and it's not an official forecast, but the signs are there that we are going to have a very very active
Yes.
winter. It's going to be a nasty nasty winter. That's just just the signs. From my perspective as a weather enthusiast, as a forecaster, whatever. I'm feeling it. I'm putting it out there. Last year I was like, it's gonna be a gnarly winter, and it was cold, and we saw on average a little more snowfall than we usually do, and it was a La Nina winter
Hmm.
last year as well.
Yep.
This year, however, like we're already um we're already in a freeze. In fact, Indiana right now, let me double check make sure that they haven't given another update, but so I'm not just talking out of my butt. Um, Hold on. So looking at this, okay, it has stayed the same. So currently, there are 16 counties here in Indiana right now that are under um, a freeze warning. That's a lot higher for Michigan. In fact, there's more counties in Michigan, but that's the thing. So 16 counties along the eastern border, northeast, and then dipping further south of Indiana are currently under a freeze warning. And then just about the entire rest of the state, with the exception of 3 counties up near Lake Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
are under a frost advisory. So we're expecting to
Yes.
see temperatures at and below freezing tonight. And we're also expecting to see widespread frost across the majority of Indiana. Um, those 3 counties that are up by the lake, the only reason this is kind of, I'm sure Ethan could explain it, in deeper detail, but this is
Mm-hmm.
almost like if you look at the way that it's pushing, they kind of angle down towards the southeast. Um, it's kind of the first hint of lake effect snow. And the reason,
Yes, and I had. Yep.
yep, and
No, you keep going.
yeah, so right now there's this ambient heat bubble. It's not even heat, it's just a warm, temperate bubble being supported by Lake Michigan's water temperatures being a little warmer, and it's kind of sheltering them for now. But that
Mm-hmm.
same bubble of moister, warmer air is going to kind of turn against them here very, very shortly, where those 3 counties that
Mm-hmm.
right now are being spared from the frost and spared from the freeze, um, they're going to be the ones to watch and wind up being inundated with lake effect snow. Not saying that the rest of northeastern Indiana isn't going to see it, because I mean we all know lake effect snow will come as far east as like even far east and south as like Fort Wayne, possibly even into Huntington County. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what's kind of we're watching and seeing this evening. So that's your first hint of what's to come. Your guys are getting spared tonight, but after it's game on.
Yes, absolutely. And I think I had made. I think on our last live stream, I had made a comment about that because I had saw that little warm pocket coming
Mhm.
off of the lake, and it's literally just in those 3 counties up here. It's with wind chill heat index. I'm looking right here, at about 5 a.m. Central Eastern,
Mhm.
4 a.m. Central, right? Yeah. Around that time, it's going to be in the 40s, lower 40s. But then you literally cross that line into Fort Wayne and it drops to 31, 28 degrees.
Yep.
So it's a pretty significant change from, a pretty good 10 degree, excuse me, 10-degree difference just because of that lake. And then on the opposite side of the lake, on the Wisconsin side, temperatures in the 20s
Right.
tonight. So, that lake is really warming that air up and pulling some moisture. So, and even today, I have seen, I don't know the technical term for it, but I like to call it lake effect rain.
Yes.
Um, I've seen it's been doing that all day today, where because I live in Michigan City right now,
Mhm.
and I've looked outside while I was at work this morning, and it's pouring rain. I'm like, what? So I take a peek at the radar, and there are literally, I don't know if anybody's seen lake effect bands. You know how they're very thin, long strips of snow, and they literally looked like that. They were lake effect bands, but they were rain.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So I had said this, however many, about a month or so ago on our last Indiana Storm Chaser live stream. I believe it was with Zach, and I said, we're gonna get some lake effect this year because of the heating of the lake was so late this year. It
It was.
was, by the end of May, we finally saw 70s and 80s, and that heat was so late, it's going to naturally last a little bit longer into the winter, and I could very well say that we are going to get even the Michigan side, the leeward side of that lake, always gets some kind of lake effect. It always does every year.
Oh yeah.
but I believe this year is going to be a little ramped up because of that. Heating has lingered further into the fall than it usually does.
That's
Also, just to
100%
point out that aside from lake effect snow in the fall season, we also get a lot of water spout outbreaks on the Great Lakes as
Hmm.
well.
hmm
I've seen a few reports even today in southern Lake Michigan. I believe it was actually off the shore of, I want to say near Chicago. There's a couple water spouts simultaneously at the same time. So that's another thing that happens when we have these warm lakes in the fall and into the winter. And we have especially low pressure systems, but they can
Hmm.
happen under cumulus decks as well.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm actually currently watching the radar right now, and there's enough banding coming off the lake where it's pulling for far enough south where if temperatures are cold enough, we may even see a couple snowflakes fly in Indiana tonight. Possibly. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but just looking at,
Probably.
yeah, and I mean, just looking at it right now, like, because it's pulling far enough west and south away from that warm bubble, and it's also pushing far enough east away from that warm bubble where we do see that potential where there could be, and it's not going to be anything that's like, great accumulation.
Hmm.
But we could see some flurries this evening. Now as far as like the first run of like accumulating snow, uh, that's anybody's guess right now. I don't know. I'm not gonna make any predictions about that. However,
So
go
as
ahead.
a little side note on that, just real quick, I have a little cheat sheet that I have made. Um, that I'm obsessed with lake effect. I love it. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. But I do have a little cheat sheet here, and for its lake snow probability, I believe it was the office in Lansing, the National Weather Service in Lansing did this study, and for a good optimal temperature in the 850 millibar is in between -12 and -19 Celsius.
Oh,
So looking at that
Yikes.
right now tonight, we're barely at -3. So I'm gonna have to say that's a hard pass on that lake effect, but that is kind of the pattern that we want to have though. It's just not quite cold enough in the upper atmosphere yet, but it is on its way, I would have
so
to say.
close, so close. Which
So close.
brings me to our first of two contests that Indiana Storm Chasers and I guess Michigan. Well, no, Michigan really can't participate in this one because wah wah, you guys have already had snow. So we want people we want people to guess. And here's the challenge. You guys have to guess correctly the date and then as a bonus round the amount of the first verifiable snow in Indiana for the 2022-2023 winter season. So it would, basically when we post this, we're going to post this later this evening, the contest. Um, you can say it's going to be on November 13th, and I'm going to guess it's going to be 4 inches. Doesn't matter where in Indiana it falls. You don't, don't go
Mhm.
be extra and guess location, but it has to be the correct date and amount. Okay? If you guess both the date and the measurement correct, you guys, the winner will win a big prize package. Okay? The powers that be, will figure out it's going to be something fun. Um, so there will be a big prize package. And I can guarantee you that in that prize package will be some branded merchandise from Indiana Storm Chasers. Venturing out to say you'll probably get stuff that's autographed by the entire team. Now, if you are successful in guessing only the date, okay, not the amount, but only the date, you will still win a prize. It just won't be as large a prize. Um, and if there's more than one person who makes a guess for the same date or same date, same measurement, Like, so for instance, someone who makes date and measurement, both measurements are wrong, but y'all have the correct date, or you guys both hit, like, the double whammy. Um, we will have to take you guys in and do a weather trivia sudden death round between you guys. So you'll have to duke it out with your weather knowledge,
I like that.
right?
Competition.
Yeah, it's fierce, and this will be running
It's getting hot in here.
Oh yeah.
and this will be running until we actually have a verifiable first snow in Indiana. And you can bet your bottom dollar that at least Ethan and I know that Ryan, he's all like, meh, snow. But at least Ethan and I, and probably Caleb, and definitely Josiah, are all sitting back waiting for these big snow events to happen. So we are watching radar and forecasts like hawks, waiting for the chance
Mm-hmm.
to announce the first snow. So that'll be posted up on our Facebook. We'll tweet it out on Twitter as well, to get you guys in the running for our first snow contest. So that's pretty exciting stuff. And then for the rest of you guys who hate snow and don't want to, participate in that, we have a little bit tamer competition that's going to run between now and Black Friday. So it'll be between now and November 25th. And we are looking for people. There's an unlimited amount of entries here for this one. The snow, you get one guess. But for this next contest, you get an unlimited amount of entries, and that is us searching for Indiana's tip-top fall foliage, fall scene, or spooky season photo contest. So you can post as many photos as you want between now and November 25th. And we will put them all up, and it'll get them up to a vote, and the winners will be announced on the first day of winter, which is December 21st. So 2 big contests.
Yeah, are we gonna have
Huh.
are we gonna have our team vote on it, or are we gonna have the public vote on it?
Ooh, that's a good question. Maybe we should have the team
I
vote on
think the
that one.
last time we did the fall foliage, I believe we went off of whatever picture in the comment section got the most likes.
I mean, we can do that. I mean, it's you know what? Let's toss a coin. I have to find a coin.
You have a coin on you?
I don't have a coin on me. You know what? I actually don't
You have
have
a coin?
pockets.
I got you.
Okay. So heads, it'll be the team. Tails, it'll be Facebook likes.
Okay, I got a quarter here. Flipping it now.
Go.
It is heads.
Haha, the team prevails. So it'll be on
So
us.
the team will decide.
The team
Side
will
note,
decide.
we do accept bribery.
I was about to say, I was about to say, chocolate will get you everywhere in life.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
I love it.
we can be easily swayed with food.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Not a lie. So there will be 2 contests. We will post both. We will post up both today or tonight, sometime this evening, if not before tomorrow morning for sure. Where you guys can participate in both or one, or have fun with it. Oh, Lordy B. I guess kind of we were getting back on talking about severe weather threat and stuff and fall and what have you, and it kind of just reminded me real quick that we do have something else that's cooking here in our lab, so to speak. And this is a project that we've been hemming and hawing about for a little bit here and trying to figure out how to make it happen. And Caleb Ivans, who you guys will probably remember from being one of the first members, of Indiana Storm Chasers and our lead forecaster in the past. Caleb has a project that he's introduced to Indiana Storm Chasers, and we're going to be working on very, very strongly here, especially in the 2023 season, and that's called Project Velocity. Ryan, actually, you're probably the best person to go ahead and explain Project Velocity in non-crazy
Yeah,
technical
I can
terms.
I can go ahead and give a little bit
Yeah.
I can go ahead and give a little bit of insight. I think, out of respect to Caleb, I'll let him handle most
Yeah,
of it.
absolutely.
But we're looking at a few different projects. I'll go ahead and mention one involves lightning. I'm not
Hmm.
going to get into details with that one. And then a couple other things we're looking at. Now, in the past, we've had connections with people who run Radar Omega. We've also had connections with Reed Timmer and also a few other people within the weather community who have the large presence, like Radar Omega and Reed. Um, and those separate individuals, they both provide, um, let's go ahead and call them mobile mesonettes that will record data in real time. So we're looking at getting outfitted with some of our most active chasers. We're looking at getting some of those on the vehicles and then making our own as well.
Yes.
We're just kind of in the starting process of getting blueprints, getting this the general idea of what we're going to have just to move forward with this. But scientific research is something that we want to focus heavily on. If we can contribute to the science community, or if somebody listening to this has opportunities and connections that they can give us to get our foot in the door within the science and research community, message us on Facebook or get a hold of one of us on the website. Our contact info is on the website. So we're definitely very interested. Any way we can help the scientific side of storm chasing and weather research, we are down for that 110%.
Absolutely. Like we do have an
And
electron.
also, I will say that we should definitely get Caleb on here for a future episode to explain Project Velocity in detail. Out of
Oh, for
respect to
sure.
him, I don't want to say too much. So we should get him on here to have him explain that in his own words and on his own time. So
No, that's an absolute. But it was worthy of mention. And going back to that,
definitely.
we do have electronics engineers that are really very talented that are associated with Indiana Storm Chasers. And while we would love to, and we are going to be building our own platforms, again, anything that just gets us started sooner, or if somebody wants to collaborate, that would be awesome. But just know that we are looking to pave the way for some rather unique and interesting research, and Caleb will have a lot more on that, and we'll have to get him on here probably next podcast, um, which is 2 weeks from this evening. Um, that's worth putting in your schedules, making sure that you have time to come on and listen because it's going to be a good show. It is our third anniversary for Indiana Storm Chasers happening. Wow, it really is. So that'll be our anniversary, our third anniversary show, and we'll be celebrating on Chasing After Dark. That's crazy. That's hard to believe.
I want to go ahead and point out. I want to go ahead and point out we've been here 3 years, and Jennifer actually asked us a question in the comments. What is the history and story behind Indiana Storm Chasers? How did it come to fruition?
So, in summer of 2019, I was approached by another individual in the weather community that um, had seen me out in the community and had known me to have connections with various individuals and in and out of weather and entertainment and what have you. And it was pitched, to the Indiana is in desperate or was in desperate need of a reliable educational um, group of weather enthusiasts. So, people that were interested in chasing, but also forecasting, and then getting into schools and local community events, educating and making sure that we were prepared for severe weather here in Indiana because Indiana has a nasty history when it comes to severe weather. So we formed Indiana Storm Chasers, and Ryan came on right away. I believe he was the third individual that was involved in Indiana Storm Chasers, other than myself and this former individual. And then Caleb, and then everybody else just kind of fell on in. Um, we have accomplished a lot in the past 3 years. We have done festivals where we've done education. We've gone into schools where we've done education. We've built ourselves quite a bit of territory on social media where we're making sure that we have an expansive outreach and an expansive network to be able to reach as many Hoosiers as possible, and we're looking to grow that even further. Um, we like to say that it's not about the likes, but every like that we get and every follow that we get, whether it be on Facebook or Twitter or Twitch or whatever platform that we decide to infiltrate, so to speak, um, that's another family and another business that is receiving the information that is necessary to keep them ahead of the storm and keep them safe. So that is pretty much how Indiana Storm Chasers started. It's always been founded on the principle that it's an altruistic principle. We want to make sure that it's Indiana communities first, so the people of Indiana first, and now of course the people of Michigan first, and we come second. We do this all out of our own pocket, um, and that can be very very difficult given the current economic climate. We're not going to wax political here at all, but with the current economic climate, especially with fuel prices, it's very difficult to keep chasers on the road. So that is,
Absolutely.
and that is why we've chosen to become. Just this year, we became we're an official limited liability company registered within the state of Indiana. Um, we are looking to make sure that anybody who you see us asking for stars on Facebook or what have you, or to donate through Twitch or to um, well, now we actually, I'll announce that in just a second, but we have another way for you to support us as well, or sponsorships or what have you. All of that is split up between the chase pool. We're very very dedicated to making sure that our chase pool and our forecasters um, receive what they need in order to provide that level of excellence that we strive to, and we will accept nothing less than that level of absolute excellence. There's no hype, there's no drama. It is the facts, and we just make sure that it gets out there in a timely fashion. And that's kind of where you guys come in as the public, is that just make sure that you're able to stay weather aware, follow us, like us, come to the events when we host them. Um, there's just a lot that you guys can do to be collaborative, and we do offer 100% free if you message us on Facebook or if you shoot us an email off one of the emails that you can find on our website. If you need a weather safety plan, we will sit with you, even if it's just virtually. We will sit with you and come up with a weather safety plan for your family or for your business to make sure that everybody has a safe space in the event that Mother Nature shows her ugly side. Which, speaking of her ugly side, sometimes you need gear to protect yourself against Mother Nature's ugly side. So I guess that's a really cheesy segue into the fact that we just launched our merchandise through Redbubble. You guys can now actually obtain Indiana Storm Chasers official branded and trademarked uh, merchandise, whether it be stickers or journals, cell phone covers, hoodies, t-shirts, tote bags, you name it, you can find it on our Redbubble store. We've already dropped the link on Indiana Storm Chasers Facebook page. We'll drop it on Twitter as well. And for those of you guys that are actually participating in the contests, you might want to go dig through the merchandise, and because it's a really good idea of what you guys can expect to find in your prize packs along with other goodies. Um, so yeah, that's probably the best way to describe Indiana Storm Chasers, and then also plug the fact that you guys can now rock out in really cool branded stuff. um, yeah. So you're totally welcome, Jennifer. Absolutely.
Hey, Ethan, I got a question for you.
What's up?
Historically speaking, what is the average temperature at this time of year?
Historically, let's see here. Beginning October. Historically speaking, it is honestly about what it is right now. I would
Somewhere in the
say,
60s, upper
yeah,
60s.
mid yeah, mid lower 60s, upper 60s, yeah, something like that. I do believe, naturally there are colder years and warmer years, but I believe we are actually in the average temperature overall over the past couple of weeks right now. Um,
Gotcha.
yeah, I would say we're in that good average bubble.
I was kind of curious about that just because you had mentioned that, you have these shorter snaps, you have the false fall and then a third summer.
Hmm.
And just kind of
Yeah, yeah.
curious where temperatures usually lie nowadays, or not nowadays, but this time of year.
Well, I do know for sure, if anything, we are probably a little bit below average for this time of year. So, if we're not just barely below average, we're right in average. So, I would say it's in that upper area of just below or right in the average. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah, I know when I was
All
doing
right.
I know when I was doing some research about early frost and the usual like first frost, first freeze of Indiana. Um, Generally, the weekend of like the 11th is when northern Indiana typically sees its first
hmm,
frost, first freeze. So we're kind of maybe a few days ahead of that. Well, actually, the first
yeah,
frost for
yeah,
sure we're ahead of that, but I think overall we're right on target, so to speak.
yeah.
So okay, what else ground can we cover today?
I think we covered everything that we wanted to talk about, actually.
I think we did. I think we did. And you know what? We're right on target. We have 3 minutes to spare. Um, Moving forward in the future, if you guys have questions that you want to ask us, questions that you want to see featured on Chasing After Dark, feel free to just drop us a note, drop us a line. You can comment on our Facebook posts as they pertain to Chasing After Dark. You can drop us a message or an email. We'll be happy to feature your questions. And in the future, we hope to have really large seasonal just Q and A's. We had one last July, I think it was, where we did a real big live Q and
Yeah, so
A.
around that time.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think we're gonna push to have another one at least once every season. Um, and those will either be streamed live on Twitch or we'll do those actually through Facebook Live. Um, but again, there's just a lot that you guys can expect from us this coming season and in general. And we are very happy to be back. We're very happy to be back in action. And we're very happy to be back to our roots. So, yeah, just hang tight. The best is yet to come.
Yes,
But,
it is.
it certainly is. But I think that, unless there's any objections from the rest of our viewers, I think that is going to be the conclusion of this new episode of Chasing After Dark. So, for old time's sake, make sure you guys stay safe and don't get twisted. See you guys
I
later.
forgot about that line from last time.
Right?